the unkillable, the undeniable, okay, enough with the introduction. D.Va is like immortal this patch. It's really frustrating to play against, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. Hi everybody, welcome to the video. This is the nerf D.Va rant because she's seriously out of control. Now bear in mind, as always, these videos are done for entertainment purposes, and I do put on a bit of an exaggerated character. And you know what, usually I do put on the character, but for once, like, this character is driving me insane. First of all, I see her in almost every game. If I play competitive, she's there. If I play quick play, she's there. I'm in the damn arcade and she's there. Please get this, get her away from me. I can't take it anymore. Her 3-second boosters are making her jump in between the 3 different game modes. Blizzard, what kind of buff is this, man? I want to play against another tank. I can't. I would rather get fisted by Doomfist in every game mode on cooldown if it meant that I could avoid playing against D.Va, because I can actually counterpick Doomfist and make his life a living hell the way he makes my life a living hell in case he goes unchecked. Anyways, I'm traumatized. I can't take this anymore, man. How are we in this mode till now? Anyways, I'm gonna miss Marvel Rivals when it goes away. Anyways. Where is D.Va's problems? Enough with the character. Let's start talking about the problems with D.Va, right? D.Va's problems is in the fact that, you know, it's something that Orisa went through earlier too, where they slowly and progressively start to buff her up over time, and all that she was missing was that one final patch that really sent her over the edge, you know. And all the D.Va players that have been edging themselves to finally dominate the game with her, you know, they're probably really happy right now that they can blow their load and blow the self-destruct all over your face, just like they've been wanting to do it for the past, you know, 12 seasons. Anyways, jokes aside, so this is the thing about D.Va right now. They buffed up her boosters to about 3.5 seconds as a cooldown. Like, at 3.5 seconds, it's the downtime. Defense matrix got extended to 3.5 seconds as well from the original, you know, 3 seconds that you could keep it up, so it stays up longer. Micro missiles got a pretty decently strong damage buff. Now, the reason it got that damage buff was to, you know, kind of compete with the way armor is working right now, because D.Va does kind of suck with interacting with the current state of armor. However, the problem is that it doesn't account for the fact of how it's interacting with squishies. And seriously, if you boost into someone, boop them into a corner, and just micro missile them, that target gets easily deleted. It's actually generally really saddening how almost every squishy feels like they cannot put up a fight against D.Va. And again, the new armor really helps her in staying alive. So it's like, not only did she just get a massive survivability buff indirectly from the way armor was changed and things like that, as well as I believe she saw a small health pool increase. I can't, you know, I don't remember it for sure. I don't have the patch notes. Do correct me if I'm wrong. But then the defense matrix buff of it standing up longer, I understand that they probably did that with it in mind, that, okay, she'll probably, you know, counter Mauga in case things get out of control. But Mauga's actually been brought in line. I can't believe I live in a world where I'm saying that. Mauga's kind of been brought in line, and D.Va really didn't need to be this strong. I guess it was more like a just-in-case thing, that if Mauga went out of control. So, you know, I do believe that was the reason why defense matrix was buffed. And look, I'm gonna keep it real. The reason boosters was buffed was because D.Va had, like, D.Va is one of the tanks in 5v5 that struggled to transition from 6v6. And the reason for that is her entire kit is meant to help another tank or peel for her backline more than it is about actually going in and making plays. None of her kit brings that, you know, big explosive moment. Even when I've been playing D.Va, as you can see in the footage before you right now, you know, the safe play style to play is to just kind of chill with my team, let them, you know, bring somebody down to a point where I can finish them off, and then really bombard myself upon them, usually the enemy tank. And after that enemy tank is deleted, I can perhaps get one more kill and keep forcing people out of the choke and back into the spawn. So D.Va feels really oppressive, and don't even get me started on her matchups. Like, matchups on D.Va feel so unfair right now. It feels like, if unless you're playing another tank who can put up a fight against her, damage and supports really don't have anything going against her. There's like, what, like maybe Echo and Symmetra, and even Moira that can effectively, quote unquote, or break even, that can, like, you know, apply some sort of pressure to the D.Va. But because of the new armor values, and healing is still as strong as ever, even in the current 20% heal reduction patch. Oh no, they removed that thing too. I completely forgot. The 10% heal reduction patch, which is hilarious that hasn't been reverted yet. D.Va just, it feels like she's unkillable. I think even in the footage before you, I just never die unless I come to a point where I kind of got bored of playing safe and wanted to play more aggro. And then I remembered I'm playing D.Va and I'm not allowed to play aggro, and then it got a little bit depressing. So, you know, now that we kind of understand of why they changed up her kit the way she is right now, it's now time to understand that, well, how do we bring her back? And okay, like this is where things get really tricky, right? Because I personally think D.Va's strength, despite the buffs that she has received over time, I think the major cause for concern of why D.Va is so strong right now is, number one, the heal reduction on tanks is way too low. I think 15% is the sweet spot, at least for the tank role, and 20% on squishies is the best one for everybody, I think. And that is contributing to it. I think the way the new armor works helps her way too much, because if you understand how to distribute damage like to your face and then the rest of the damage onto your defense matrix while you're getting, you know, always healed up since you're playing close with your team, it can legitimately feel like you will never die on this character, and that's why it's really frustrating to play against her. It certainly doesn't help that she can shut down so many characters in this game, like outside of, you know, outside of like what, maybe Echo and Symmetra, who have to be really careful with how they approach D.Va as well, because D.Va can melt them just as fast as the pressure that they can apply to her. D.Va can do a really, really good job of just checking every other DPS, and the same goes for supports. Like maybe Moira and Brig can do a good job of just surviving or applying pressure to her, or, you know, having a little bit of an advantage up against her, but other supports against her suffer quite a bit. Maybe Lucio kind of gets away from D.Va's wrath, but the other supports can be so easily isolated, and because of the new, you know, boosters, D.Va can chase Mercy so easily. It's like a giant stag beetle chasing down this little fly, and you know that little fly is going to get killed, and you just can't help because there's too much shielding, there's too much HP on that ginormous beetle, and that little fly is going to die. And I've watched way too many Mercies get bullied by D.Va this season. It's actually really depressing. So anyways, now the question is, you know, well, how do we approach D.Va? How do we tone it down? So like I said earlier, this is more of a global issue, because certain other tanks can feel really oppressive too, but they're not that bad. I think D.Va is way too out of control. And now the question is, do we need to revert the armor that they changed, or do we need to genuinely think about some of the changes to D.Va's kit? Now, to be fair, while approaching her kit, I would like to keep her damage around rather than keeping her utility or her defense matrix around, because she just can't work as a passive character. Like, you're forced to give so much space the more passive you play, unless your teammates get a pick. So rather, they could probably go into the whole glass cannon-y style and apply it to her, kind of the same way they did with Mauga, where if she comes in and she really applies pressure, she can, you know, like do some serious damage. However, if you're able to avoid her and wait out her cooldowns, then she's a vulnerable, you know, like her mech is a vulnerable feeding spot. So everybody can just come and eat it and just destroy it, and then, you know, chew her and spit her back out into spawn. So that's the same thing that's happening with Mauga right now as well, is that, you know, he's just in a, he's in a very niche spot, and I feel like there's just some characters where we have to keep them in a niche spot. I don't think necessarily D.Va is one of them, but perhaps this iteration of D.Va would need to be kept niche, unfortunately. Regardless, I would like to change the following things to help, you know, D.Va out. Personally, I would really like to change the DPS, you know, passive on the way it interacts with tanks, you know, and the healing reduction should be 15%. This is going to be very important for how tanks are able to, you know, survive and draw out fights. Number two, I personally think the defense matrix buff should be reverted, and it should be sent back to the way that it used to be. You know, and number three, I also think her boosters should be reverted. I think D.Va having, like, outside of maybe Wrecking Ball, I think she is by far the fastest tank in terms of how quick she can have her mobility online and just be zooming all over the place. It's really frustrating for her to be able to do all of this that I'm listing out right now, right? And the next thing is, like, you know, we've talked about nerfing matrix, talked about nerfing boosters. You know, the thing is, me personally, even though I agree that it's incredibly frustrating to be on the receiving end of it, sadly, I kind of feel like we might need to keep the damage that she's doing with the micro missiles, or we could nerf the micro missiles back to the way that they used to be and maybe tighten the spread on her primary fire so that she's able to have a better neutral gameplay. Because right now, one of the biggest problems is, while she, again, like I said earlier, while she can be a really good defensive and passive tank, you know, to perhaps defend a point like by ISO 0.1 or something like that, her ability to make plays is really weak. Her ability to even initiate the initial aggression is really weak. So D.Va is a tough cookie to crack because it's more of a format problem, and I really wanted to avoid talking about 5v5 or 6v6, but Unfortunately, in this case, it does apply to D.Va quite a bit that she was a 6v6 tank. She struggled to transition over into 5v5, and unless we turn her into a stat behemoth, she is just not going to be in that, you know, generic, you know, go-to tank spot that perhaps the balance team is trying to push her into. That's just not going to be the case. I think D.Va is very, very strong, and I personally think she's shutting down 90% of the roster in the game a bit too well. She should definitely force people to slow down. I don't think she should completely shut down all value in a team fight. I think 3.5 seconds is way too much. So perhaps if we want to take it slow and steady, the first things I would nerf on D.Va, again, just from the kit perspective and not the armor and the HP pool changes and things like that, from the kit perspective, I would like to see it like defense matrix and her boosters go back to their usual cooldowns that they used to be, and then see how she performs. And if she's still a little bit silly, then I think, you know, unless they change the way armor works, then we might need to kind of tone down on the armor that she does have, because like I said, near unkillable character. Anyways, everybody, that's it for the D.Va rant video. If you enjoyed this and you want more of the rant type of content, guides, and all sorts of other fun Overwatch stuff, do hit the subscribe button. If you want to support me financially, you can use Super Chat or check out the Patreon. And once again, thank you for sticking around. We have a Marvel's Rivals channel online if you want to check it out, also in the description. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.